Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
I am Sonic.
And good morning, Belize. Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Tuesday. I tell you that always a long weekend get me. Good morning, Belize. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are at home. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. Because even in the, oh gosh,
blistering heat, man.
Thank you, Isani. That tells me how you're doing this morning. How are you today?
I'm good. I told a relative of mine yesterday, right, that if I were gaining weight, if I was gaining some weight over the past couple of months, I feel like I sweated all out this weekend.
Because of the heat?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I told him, I said, I've never visited Reggie's tea shop, but maybe I need a cooling off. After all of that sweat, right?
It's been a very, very
rather warm,
hot, rather warm weekend. I don't know if you all received some showers of blessings yesterday here in the city.
Not quite, not that I'm aware of, no.
I was up in the north this weekend for Indigenous Peoples Resistance Day, and early in the morning, right after we finish a particular ceremony around 6 o'clock. So pouring rain. It was what we needed. It was hot, and it finished like maybe 2 hours later. It was wonderful bliss.
Well, see, usually Corozal is hot and arid.
Yes, that's
true. So
true.
to get that kind of showers, perhaps it was most needed there.
Yeah, well, everywhere. I mean, I came back to the city yesterday, and I got right back to that wavering heat.
Yeah.
But we are going to hear from the folks at the Met Service this morning, of course, to give us that update. But other than that being a part of what's buzzing today, Isane, there are some very horrible growing tensions that are happening in the world, and particularly in the Middle East, as Hamas has officially waged war with Israel.
I think there are a couple of things that, when I woke up on Saturday morning and I learned of the attacks from the Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that essentially controls the Gaza Strip, which neighbors Israel, if you look at the geography of that particular area of the Middle East. Nonetheless, 3 things struck out to me when I heard of this deadly attack being waged on Israel. Where was the Mossad?
Yeah.
Now, what is the Mossad for people who may not know? The Mossad is arguably the most advanced intelligence service in the world, perhaps second only to CIA, right? So how or why did they not pick up on any intelligence that would have suggested that an attack of this nature was imminent? So that was the first thing. The second thing was, okay, how did the Shin Bet respond in the immediate onset of this entire attack?
Yeah.
Right? And to me, for some reason, it would have suggested that they fell asleep at the wheels. Considering the fact that this attack, in the first instance, was launched on several fronts, but the Hamas fighters made entry into Israel using paragliders. Yeah. How would they not have seen that? How would they not have been able to respond to that? Thirdly, there is this multi-billion-dollar defense and security apparatus called the Iron Dome that Israel has used to ward off aerial attacks in terms of, missiles being launched from nearby countries and what have you to Israel, right? So these are the first three things that automatically jumped out at me.
I think the diplomatic response to all of those questions is that this wasn't a frail attack that one day the Hamas woke up and said, we're going to do this. It's obvious and it's evident that this has been a planning of many, many months of strategy.
Which is why the question of intelligence comes in.
You know,
because
when they
normally
say-
you have double agents, you have moles, you have spies, you have all of these other people who are embedded in certain societies and communities where they're able to gather information that is critical. And that information is shared as a matter of intelligence to, you know, the CIA if it's an interest of the United States, if it's the Mossad in this case for Israel, and so on and so forth.
It's clear that they had checked all of those avenues, Isani, because, and I'll say this, because even after the attack at the concert, right, some of the news sources, international news sources say that
There were over like 250 persons who lost their lives.
They were in there for almost 4 hours. So you mean to tell me that after you were called at the first instant, you were not able to deploy anybody?
And that's because the walled border was also penetrated.
Yes.
And it took them a while for them to regain control of their terrestrial front.
Yeah.
You know?
So they definitely strategized. I think they took over 130 hostages, I believe.
Anywhere between 100 and 150
Right.
hostages have been taken
And
by
so,
Hamas. Now here's the thing, April. Here's the thing, right? So the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, has sworn that he will exact a huge price from Hamas. Now, not all citizens, residents, people living in the Gaza Strip are fighters on behalf of Hamas. You have civilian people who have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
You know, and when you look at the air raids and the pummeling that the Gaza Strip has been taking since Saturday, a lot of innocent people have lost their homes. I'm not sure the body count in terms of civilians who have lost their lives in the aftermath of the attacks on Israel. That is yet to be determined, but we're looking at physical structures perhaps to say that a lot of people have been displaced and a lot of people have lost, you know, their homes and so on and so forth in the aftermath.
I think that it's important, Isani, that we established 2 things. One, that this is not a 1,000-year conflict. This has been something that has happened within the last eras of the 20th into the 21st century. So I just really need to establish that part. The second thing I want to establish is this is not a war of religious institutions. This is a war on territory and power. Same as Russia into Ukraine, now here we have quote unquote one small minority group fighting back this larger dog that has been plaguing quote unquote their territory over the past 50, 60 years or so, in their words, not mine, right? So I just needed to establish that part because I keep seeing comments on social media saying we can't stop a 1,000-year war, religious institutions yet again fighting. Not every Arab is Muslim, and not every Muslim belongs to this particular territorial group or this particular region, right? So it's important that we clear that once and for all so that we understand really and truly why the Hamas went in and took over in this way.
To do so, and I'm glad that you've put that into some context, a lot of what happens between countries and other nations that lend support one way or the other has to do with geopolitics, right? So in a situation like this where the United States has openly said, okay, well, we support Israel 100%. Joe Biden, in the wake of the attack, you know, made certain comments in full support of Israel.
Right.
And over the weekend as well, from what I saw elsewhere in the news, there was a session that was being held where the U.S. senator who was participating in a session sort of, you know, sought a position from China on the recent developments.
Right.
And the Chinese representative could have hardly been bothered. Enough for the U.S. senator to say, well, we're disappointed in China's response or position, but what do you expect?
Yeah.
You know, it's not as if though the United States and China are the best of friends. So to put it in a way where you're saying, look, how do you feel about something happening to a colleague of ours when you and I aren't chummy? We're not, you know, we
Yeah,
do
don't
business
ask
for the
me.
sake
Yeah.
of, and that's as far as it goes. So I don't expect you to empathize or for you to take a strong position against what's happening. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Right? But I'm simply saying that when you look at it from, you know, what the ramifications will be going forward in terms of what it means for the Middle East, in terms of what it means for U.S. support for Israel and all of that, you're looking at geopolitics.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to go on a limb and kind of go, I know they were planning, strategizing for quite some time, but my most curious question is why now? What was happening in and around this Middle East states?
It was
for them
time to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur.
Interesting.
Right? So perhaps that's also part of contextualizing
I was more
the timing of it.
The nuance of
Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Arabia and Israel.
That's also
having
part of
these
it,
conversations
right?
of collaboration, right? But
they were so close. Well,
yes,
technically they're still so close because Saudi Arabia hasn't come forward to say, well, everything is off the table. So perhaps that still hangs in the balance somewhere, despite the recent developments. But yes, one could also say, well, look, it's a concerted effort to prevent, you know, this entire movement between Israel and Saudi Arabia.
I think I wanted to kind of also confess that a lot of what is taking place in these Middle Eastern countries, and when we're talking about the United States having a say or wanting to assist, I think there was also a motion from other nation states for United States to hold off. They just finally started to take their troops out of the Middle East, and they don't want to see another space where the United States has to go in and do this all over again, right? With that being said, I don't know how long the United States will actually keep that.
Well, you have to understand too, right, that if you're looking at the war in Ukraine, the United States is also backing Ukraine in its fight against Russia. And since it is lending its unwavering support to Israel in this instance, you know, it's deploying certain assets out there. Naval ships, as we understand, have been deployed. That takes money. And so perhaps you're looking at another tranche of the U.S. budget being expended on.
And you know, I'm so glad you brought that up because we were just having this conversation with some friends yesterday, and I think that we always forget how much investment goes into these kinds of situations. Wars cost money, resources, both human and products, right? And at the end of the day, whichever country is, like you said, backing the other one up, they have to increase their budget in order to assist. Where does that leave a space like the United States that has their diplomatic relations with all of these other countries around the world? And I say that because we see what has happened with Ukraine and Russia and how that has created a severe inflation throughout the world. And you at home might be asking, why are we discussing this in Belizean media? Why is that important for us? You know, everything that happens outside of this little bubble affects us. Remember where we stand as well on this side of the aisle.
Well, here's an interesting conversation then, if we're to sort of, you know, segue just a bit. So one, the leader of the opposition wasted no time issuing a release or a statement yesterday, I believe it was, where he was essentially condemning the attack on Israel. And Shine Barrow is Jew.
Yes.
You know, for a time he moved to Israel.
Yes.
And, you know, he's staunch in his religious beliefs where that is
yes.
concerned. But on the other hand, you have Belizeans saying, okay, well, so why are we discussing this? Because when it came to the historic vote back in the 70s, early 80s somewhere, Israel did not vote in favor of Belize getting its independence. So that has long been a chip on our shoulder in terms of certain people you speak with. Yes. So it's an interesting, if you look at it from that point of view, it's a very interesting scenario.
And you know, not to segue either, Isani, but when we're talking about, you know, bordering countries that have these territorial conflicts, we have our own issues to deal with here at home.
So if you were to again look at that from a broader view, you have Belize, Guatemala, you have China, Taiwan. You could look at the Russia-Ukraine issue. You could also look at what's happening in the Middle East as well, right?
Yeah, and in South America.
Yes,
right?
And in South America.
So it comes at these are the I really don't want to say trends, but it seems like it can happen at any moment, right? And I think that we're living in an era of fear, where all of these world incidents, and because we've been taking in so much news, we're aware right now, I believe the death toll is at 1,600, and that's just because this is what people are tallying up as they find persons in abandoned buildings. But that happened so quickly. It was just at 700. Now we know it's 1,600 by the end of this particular.
Numbers will continue
you know,
to grow.
And we will get updated every time. And so it comes to us in all of these different waves. And my advice to anybody that is watching out there is to try your best to look at all angles of the situation.
I think one of the first things that we as Belizeans and those of us in the media who are familiar with what's taking place was trying to understand how many Belizeans would have been in Israel, either in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or other parts of Israeli-controlled territory.
Right.
And so what we understand is that at least one person who had come forward to say that, you know, they were in Israel have been evacuated and they're in a safe space aside from what's taking place there.
Yeah, I believe that currently I was just updated that non-Belizean Shelley Usher and her husband, they're in Israel right now, and they're trying to leave. You know, they were there for vacation. To look, and now they have been stranded. I believe that most airlines have stopped locked off travel time, and so I'm very curious to see how they're going to be out there. I understand that Mexican government has sent 2 aircrafts to rescue their people that are in there at the moment, but I'm not sure how we are going to be handling this situation.
You're also looking at a situation where, as we mentioned earlier, the Hamas fighters have taken anywhere between 100 and 150 Israelis, which include army officers as well. And so there's going to be essentially a rescue mission launched by Israel to try to see how they can, you know, I can't say safely because, you know, the casualties are mounted on either side of the conflict, but to see how they can extract these individuals from these kidnappers.
Well, they took them for a purpose, right? They said for every Palestinian that suffers at the hand of an Israeli, they will, you know, end one of their hostages.
I mean, waking up to this on Saturday morning, I don't know that anyone expected it, but let's go back to what I'm saying from the very onset of this conversation. How could it have slipped this entire intelligence apparatus that has, you know, like I said, agents and persons embedded in various aspects of the Middle Eastern society? I say Middle Eastern society because Israel doesn't only have assets embedded in Gaza. I mean, they have all over that particular area of the world.
Yeah.
You know, how does this slip that radar?
You know, Isani, it comes at, there's certain political instances where, unfortunately, humanly possible, and the simple solution is they just turned their blind eye. It was one of those things where I turned for a second to look at something else, and this occurred.
But when you look at I understand what you're saying, but when you look at the history of conflicts that involve Israel in that region, you can't afford to blink for a second or turn a blind eye.
Remember that the last time they went at war for this Gaza Strip, Israel was the one that had the upper hand, and they essentially won territory over it. So I'm assuming that there is a little bit of I'm not worried about it kind of feel. I wasn't worried about it until now there is a raging war. So we'll be keeping tabs on it, as you should at home as well.
Yeah.
But we do got to move on. That is just a portion of what is happening in the world. But let's bring it back home with our eye on the news for this morning's segment. Let's check it out.
So I'll also start our Eye on the News segment this morning by looking at what's taking place in neighboring Guatemala.
Great.
So a few weeks ago, there was the final round of elections to determine a new head of government for Guatemala. And subsequent to that is the peaceful transition of power. Well, there has been political upheaval in Guatemala. And for the past several days, the turmoil has came to a head. And we understand that, the Organization of American States has sent personnel into Guatemala to try to see how they can stabilize and ensure that the transition takes place for a new president to, lead that Central American nation. And so, for us, why is this important? Well, Guatemala is our next door neighbor. And as we mentioned earlier, there is a territorial dispute between Belize and Guatemala that's before the World Court for Adjudication, right? And so when you look at that in the context of what's been taking place at the Sarstoon, and you look at that in the context of, recent comments that were made by our head of government, my question is at this point, ordinarily, one would perhaps send a message to say, what, as Belizeans, notwithstanding the issues that we have, with our neighbors, we stand steadfast in a peaceful transition of power for the new president to take his seat. But when you have a diplomatic gaffe, such as the one that, occurred last week with the Prime Minister, how do you now come forward and say, okay, you know what, Guatemala, let's set aside our differences, but we need to be able to, when you look at it from the point of view of world politics, be able to say, you know what, these people need to allow for a new leadership to take the helm.
Yeah.
How do you do that in that context? That's my question. That's my primary question here.
Isani, right after the new president won the elections, there was talk. There was, on social media, everybody has their opinions and so forth, but there was talk that majority of the people would not be happy with this new. Remember, they had the elections prior to, and then it was a little bit obscure, and so they had to have a re-election and all of these different political issues taking place. And so with his presidency, his winning was not 100% taken by the people, and it was not 100% taken seriously by the government either. So when this protest came about, I wasn't too surprised because there were already talks of dissatisfaction, right?
Does this not remind you of what happened in the United States when Trump lost, and you know, there was supposed to have been the transition again of power from Trump to Biden, and then they stormed the Capitol and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the case here, but we're still talking about the same issue, allowing for a new administration to, you know, take its place in terms of governance.
Diplomatic, democratic handing over. I wonder if this is, again, I really hate to use this word trends, you know, but I'm just seeing it coming over and over again, where we're having these issues. It wasn't just here, it was other places in Europe, it was other places in Africa, it was other places in South and Central America, where now we're seeing this here. It's becoming
You're having military juntas in other parts of the world, including in Africa.
Yes.
That's another thing. You have Haiti with their own issue as well.
And so it's, why I'm bringing this up is because it's not a new venture.
Yeah.
Trump dismantling what would have seen a proper democratic system in the United States is not a new venture, and it's not a new venture for us here in the Western Hemisphere either. And that's why I bring it up. What worries and bothers me is that it's right next door.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that is what makes this for us newsworthy, because we'll be covering these developments in our newscast. This week, we also know that on Friday will be a House meeting.
Yes.
And so, for me, my curiosity is it will be the first House meeting since the area representative for Belize Rural South, I could say perhaps the former Minister of the Blue Economy, since his portfolio has been assumed by Prime Minister Briceño. It'll be the first House meeting since that incident. So I want to know if he'll be in attendance, if he'll sit this one out, when he'll be returning back to the fold, so to speak. So these are just some of my questions. There are a number of other questions, though, including what the debate will look like in terms of, as I mentioned, the recent remarks that were made last week by the Prime Minister. It's still sort of ripe to have this conversation.
No, we have also seen the leader of the opposition making his own remarks as well, in, of course, debating what the Prime Minister has said, but also his own remarks on his position on the state of our economy already. So it's not that we are unaware of where his positions lie.
Along with that, you know, we've been covering this issue with cruise development in the country, where, you know, part of what came out of the rubbishing of the definitive agreement will be a new piece of law to be proposed in Parliament. Initially, it was discussed at the cabinet level, and at some point they'll have to introduce it to the House. So another one of those questions is whether or not this new piece of law will be tabled before the House, introduced before the House. That is also yet to be seen.
I'm very curious about the state of our nation in the high cost of living, of course, inflation, but also I would like an update on what has been happening with persons that their minimum wage has been now increased to $5. Has that been helpful to us at all? I know that they've now had a 6 month period to kind of check those statistics out if they are keeping tabs on it. I would like to know that, and as well as price gouging. Like that is where my concern is, because they increased the minimum wage, and we said thanks, and we haven't really heard anything since then. So that's where my...
So there's quite a lot that we will be looking at this week, both on the domestic front, and of course what's taking place just across the border in Guatemala, you know, and it will make for an interesting series of developments at home and abroad. So we'll be looking carefully and closely at all of these, you know, developments. As we mentioned last week as well, that we're considering sending a small contingent of Belize Defense Force soldiers to Haiti to deal with their situation. But the opposition from our end is saying, well, look, why are we sending our BDF to Haiti when we could send them to the SAR soon, or we could use them to address our own domestic gang issues, as it were? You know,
You
so
know,
that too we're looking at very, very closely.
and I have to say, I was listening to these statements, and you would want it to be so simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I've learned about Belize over the past few years is that as small as we are, we're trying to make our statements in this big global pond.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of need to be able to give back what we receive. Belize is always the person on the receiving end. We're always the one that gets our grants. We're always the ones that get funding for our different, economic growth in society. And rarely do we see where we step into these spaces in this light anyway, in this particular light, that we deploy. The last time we did that was World War II, right? So I'm just curious to see now how Minister of Defense defends his position in that matter.
Like I said, we'll be looking carefully at all of these issues. And of course, these stories and more you'll be able to catch at 6 p.m. in our evening newscast. Catch it live on 5, or you can stream our content on social media via YouTube or Facebook. That does it for our Iron News this morning.
And we are moving on with our show for this morning. Isani and I were here talking a little bit about the weather, because I think that that's the best way to start small conversations. It's hot, everybody know that. But we have the update from the folks at the Belize Meteorological Service with the weather for today.
Good morning, Belize. A relatively moist easterly airflow prevailing. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her coastal waters calls for sunny skies today with a few cloudy intervals, and high temperatures today will range from 90 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast to 95 inland and 82 over the mountains. Tonight, skies will be partly cloudy with low temperatures of 82 along the coast to 74 inland and 68 in the higher elevations. A few showers and isolated thunderstorms will develop mainly along coastal areas this morning. Shower activity will move to inland areas by afternoon. Tonight and tomorrow morning, expect a few showers and thunderstorms to develop over the south and some coastal areas. The winds will blow from the east to southeast at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea state will be light sharp. A high tide occurred at 7:05 a.m., followed by a low at 2:11 this afternoon. Another high occurs at 8:03 p.m. and a low at 1:50 a.m. The sun rose at 5:44 a.m. and set at 5:34 p.m. The moon set at 3:25 this afternoon and comes up at 30 minutes past 3 tomorrow morning. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for a few cloudy spells with a few early morning showers and isolated thunderstorms. Then conditions will become hot and mostly dry. In the tropical weather outlook, a broad area of low pressure located several hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands has a high chance of becoming a tropical depression during the next 48 hours while the system moves west-northwestward. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
There you have it, Isani. Yes, it'll be hot. Nothing has changed. But we will be keeping a close eye on that system out there, because we are still in this hurricane season. I know it's so easy to forget sometimes. But moving on with our show for this morning, we have two packed segments lined up for today. Our first segment, we'll be joined by Belize City Mayor, who will be talking to us about his plans for 2024.
Our second conversation will be a panel discussion, a two-part panel discussion on the International Day of the Girl Child. And of course, we will have some young women from both the high school level and from the junior college level to come in and have a spirited discussion on what it means for them.
The development of, we're talking about Women's Month, we have International Men's Day and all of sort, but we always forget that there is a crucial statistical group that is the young girl and women of today. So it's going to be a great discussion, but we got to take the break. When we come back, Mayor Wagner will be with us to talk to us all about his plans for 2024. Stay with us.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there. See? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Out.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
Do you own a car or motorcycle and need an extra income but don't have the time to commit to a second job? Midriver is your solution, as you can work anytime and anywhere. Download the Midriver driver app from Play Store or App Store, the black app, and fill out the application or WhatsApp pictures to 615-5678 or 615-2250. Provide Midriver with pictures of your driver's license, social security or passport, insurance sticker, license sticker, title, profile picture of you, police record or the receipt, front of vehicle, rear of vehicle, left side exterior, right side exterior, picture of passenger seat interior, picture of rear seat interior, vaccination card, and email address. The list might look long, but you have all of these already. Just the police left for you to get. When your registration is complete and approved, all you have to do, turn up online. When a job comes in, swipe right. Tap Arriving. This allows the customer to track your GPS progress. Tap Navigate. Google Maps will open to give you directions. Press Arrive. Customer gets notified that you are outside. When customer enters car, swipe right to start ride. Midriver app charges by time and distance. That guarantees you to earn an income. When you reach destination and end the ride, the app will tell you and the customer the total cost of the ride. Midriver only takes 15%, so 85% of the income is all yours. Don't forget to get that police record receipt, and you can be on your way to making extra money with the help of Midriver.
The X-ray unit can be thought about as a branch of the accident and emergency department. So we see a lot of the accident cases that come through to check bones and other soft tissues. We also do a lot of chronic checks as related to chest X-rays and any other defects that might be able to be seen on an X-ray. Here is the closest X-ray service in the area. The next closest one would be the two hospitals in PG and one in Stan Creek.
A regular workday for us would be tending to our what we call as outpatients, patients we see daily that are referred to doctors. We collect their samples, and then afterwards we do the processing. We do basic processing here, chemistries, urinalysis, hematology, stool samples as well. So, and we also cater for emergency samples as well.
We basically analyze blood samples. We know on a daily basis that doctors read blood samples and use it to analyze how the patient is doing on a day-to-day basis.
And welcome back. We have been joined in studio this morning by the Mayor of Belize City, none other than Bernard Wagner. Good morning, Mayor Wagner.
Good morning, Isani, and good morning, April. How is the morning?
We're good.
We're good, we're good.
We're in an AC environment. So
After a long weekend as well.
Yes. Mayor, there's quite a lot for us to discuss this morning since we have you here with us. I would want to begin first of all by discussing your recent endorsement. I know that we've been covering for several weeks perhaps the fact that you were waiting for the party to come forward and say they're standing behind you as the next mayoral candidate for Belize City on the People's United Party slate. Let's start there in terms of perhaps how they arrived at that decision, and of course the fact that as it stands, you're the two-term mayor of Belize City. Let's start there.
Yeah, again, as you rightfully said, the process really started some time back, and it's only again the job of a mayor and mayor in a city is not an easy job, right? It's a tough job, and it's always about ensuring that when you go for, because I look at it as a job, and that you are able to put it in that context. That is a tough job, and you certainly, as myself as a two-term mayor, was looking at my terms and conditions in respect to going back on the job, and fortunately I was able to get the endorsement of the party once again to really finish the job. We have a lot of work to do for the city. As you can see, the City Council Act really drive what are some of the duties and what are some of the responsibilities of a city council. And it's always about ensuring that you take care of the streets, that you take care of the drains, that you pick up the garbage, that you take care of parks, playgrounds, cemeteries. It's the legal mandate. But recently, that has been expanded, both regionally and internationally, that you, as a council or as a municipality, there's more to being a mayor than just the legal mandate. So you have to look at local economic development, you have to look at women and youth, you have to ensure that you have activities in your municipality that really drives art, that really drives program, that look at sustainable development, that look at climate change, that look at social inclusion, urban development, and that sort of thing. So it has expanded, and with that expansion, you have to be able to navigate and manage all of these activities with limited resources, and that has been the challenge, as most municipalities have faced, the challenge of scarce resources. And so you have to be able to navigate those challenges that you face. Our council faced the COVID, we faced Lisa, and I do believe that our council really came together during COVID and performed pretty well without having a blueprint, without having a playbook. With Lisa as well, we were able to clean up the city, taking out over 60,000 tons of debris out of the city within a three-week span. And so the residents of the city look at confidence. When they're looking for a mayor, they look at, can we trust that person at the wheel during times of crisis? Competency of the individual, and more overall, being able to see if you're accessible, if that person is approachable, and does the person really let out the accountability and all those transparency mechanism that really is important in any municipality.
Let me ask you a question here, Mayor Wagner. As a voter, I'll put myself in the shoe of someone who's going to the polls in March 2024. Why should I vote for you after 6 years, 2 terms in office? You've had sufficient time to be able to accomplish 2 mandates. You're asking for a 3rd mandate to complete some of the projects, the municipal projects you've undertaken in this particular term. But why should I vote for you? Why should the Belizean, the Belize City resident, should I say, that is eligible to participate, cast a ballot in your favor?
Very good question. And again, it comes back to trust. It comes back to to confidence. It comes back that, listen, as a voter, do I, as a voter, have the confidence in that individual that when crises do occur, how has that individual performed? And we look right back at COVID. We didn't have any blueprint for COVID. But you look back now and say, the council under the leadership of Mayor Wagner was able to navigate COVID without firing not one staff. We were able to continue to deliver the core services of the city, picking up the garbage, cleaning the drains, and we couldn't do infrastructure works during that time due to limited resources. But now, when COVID has passed, how has that individual performed? What has he done in terms of his legal mandate? And now, as you look across the city, you see the number of streets being constructed, being rehabilitated, either by way of concreting or either by way of chip and seal. 71 streets, 71 streets we got done, right? And we had made a plan for 90 streets. So we have completed 71 of those streets already. That has expanded to now 131 streets. How does that person perform in managing the finances of the council? Not one single day. And if you look back in history, I can look back because I was a banker in those days under the previous councils going way back, and I could always see staff members coming into the bank on a Friday evening, having to wait in the queues to see if their salary would be processed because the funds had not reached the bank as yet. It had to get some measure of authorization from the bankers. That has never occurred under this city. Has the council performed in picking up the garbage in a timely fashion? We have been on the beat with that. Have the council engaged the city in activities, community activities? We have a huge list of cultural activities. So have the council driven local economic development? We have done all of those things aside from our legal mandate, and that is at the end of the day, the voter should look at.
So that is, you're asking for a continuation of growth. So then what is your ultimate vision, and what is it that you want? 2024 is coming, yes, but then you'll have another 3 years to continue to fulfill that vision.
Yeah, we have, again, so much to get done for the city. We have always spoken about a smart city, and we continue to drive activities that is in line with a smart city. A smart city can be anything you think you want that to be. It is about really smart people, driving smart activities through technology, through innovation, through data analysis, being able to put in place systems that really make it easier for residents to access services of the city. We are looking at really implementing a city council app. We have challenges where property owners, they have been rambling on this for years, that we live abroad, we live in Europe, we live in America. We would want to see our property tax statement on our phone device or laptop, but they can't see those information. And so if we are able to develop an app for the city council, those residents living abroad or property owners living abroad are able to access the app, see the property tax when it is become due, see the daily rate on the penalties for not paying on time, so that they have a running balance in their head that this is what I owe the city in terms of trade, in terms of liquor, in terms of property taxes, and in terms of all the other services that the city provides. And so that is, again, being smart. We continue to look at smart solutions in terms of our traffic lights, in terms of our parking meters, in terms of our smart parking facility. We are developing the niche parking facility. Very shortly, you'll be seeing that completely hot mix, having non-manual processes that the driver could access the park. You will have smart technology in terms of security, and that will be a model park that will be implementing all across the city in some of those abandoned lots that we have seen.
Let me quiz you on this for a moment here. The primary mandate of the council, as part of its legal obligation, so to speak, is looking at streets and drains. But the People's United Party has in the past been on record to say, well, I can't eat street. Then we look at the fact that you are now trying to achieve 90 streets in Belize City. You're 29 shy of, well, you're 19 shy of that benchmark. But we understand that infrastructure is what drives society from an economic point of view, and every other aspect you can think of.
It does.
Creates jobs, it does all of these other things. What is now your position on that, given the fact that you are in the driver's seat and that is part of your mandate, that you're getting streets and drains done?
I agree with you that you can't eat streets, but you have to be able, aside from doing all the physical infrastructure, you have to be able to balance. It's always about striking the right balance and ensuring that we have not negated our other mandate, which is social infrastructure. We have been at the pinnacle of driving social infrastructure. The super sale that we do on a quarterly basis really is an activity that is used to build that social inclusion, to drive local economic development to our young and budding entrepreneurs. It's giving the Belizean residents or the Belize City residents an opportunity to enjoy some measure of savings and shopping at home and keeping that dollar at home. We have our cultural festivals which really bring families together in a family setting, building this inclusive, resilient type of family unit, because we believe that the family unit is the core of any sort of social inclusion, and it really helps in really reducing crime, in reducing poverty. Once you are able to touch at the family core and have activities which really serve that purpose, you will be satisfying your social responsibilities as a municipality, but not forgetting your legal mandate, which is physical infrastructure.
When you're talking about, I just wanted to go back to the endorsement question for a bit, because I had imagined that it would have gone from, okay, you've done your time as mayor, you go and you see House of Rep, the cabinet, right? Because all of these wonderful accomplishments are more geared towards a national level, not just local government. So why not go into national government? Why stay at the local government?
Because we need to finish the job, April. We have certain projects in the pipeline that people want to see me shepherd it through. Particularly the electric buses and the electric ecosystem that we are trying to drive home, which will really be used as a model. It is being implemented, it is being funded actually by the European Union, implemented by UNDP, and it's a project that is very sensitive. It's a project that is the pioneering project in respect to e-mobility in our country. And we are not only looking at effectively, efficiently, reliable transportation system, but we are looking at how do we scale up from the data analysis that we will gather from this pilot project. What will be some of the financial challenges that we'll face, some of the charging station type of challenges we'll face, but it will This project really, April, will inform scaling up ambition. And we want to build this ecosystem. We're looking at e-taxis as well to complement the electric buses. We want to have a model for the e-taxis where the taxi drivers around Belize City will be able to drive to own as a sort of where we'll be transitioning those old taxis into new efficiently run e-taxis all across the city. And so that project is very intricate as we move forward into 2024. We are looking at getting the buses. Again, I have been on the TV, radio so long. I think people may have been...
2 years now.
That is how these projects go, April. I always tell
we went
people...
from anticipating this thing to, you don't happen yet, to is it going to happen?
I'm done. We had a deal.
I'll tell you something. Similarly, when people hear me talking about e-buses, they're always saying, oh, only the mayor, they get crazy. He wanted to talk about these e-buses. I'll tell you a story. Similarly, when I first got in 2018, and we needed to float bond. Remember then, I was one of 3 PUP councillors under a UDP government, and I was telling my council members that I needed to float a bond, but for you to float any bond, you have to get the
backing of the
central government, which at that time was the United Democratic Party. So in my council, all my other council members saying the mayor is crazy. Does he think that Dean Barrow will pass a bond through cabinet and through the house for him?
Support your initiative.
Yeah.
And I was the only one saying this will go through. It will go through. And I was able to convince the then Prime Minister that this bond offering is not for me, it's for the city, it's for the residents of the city. And he took that to his cabinet, got it passed through cabinet, no objection, got it passed through the house, no objection. So I'm saying all this to say that many times I have found myself in position where I am the Lone Ranger. Everyone look at me like, oh, he's crazy, he's talking about this smart city, he's talking about these e-buses. But I am telling them 10, 20 years from now, Isani and April, when you look back at a modern city, electric buses running all across the city. Barbados have over 40 buses as a small island. You will say, listen, I remember Mayor Wagner was 20 years ago was always talking about this, and watch how
that will
that is
form part
become.
of your legacy as head of municipal government. Yes.
But when you are establishing these master plans, as you will, and one day, I mean, you know, let's see that you win your election next year and you continue your vision. After that, when you wrap up, how do you then pass on this portfolio to somebody else and hope and trust that they will take on the same leadership role?
We have bright young people coming along every day. I'm so amazed at the youths. Their type of, they are coming, and but I always want to say that we want to be able to look at youths not from a perspective of token youth, token women. It has to be about added value.
Yeah.
It has to be that the youth brings added value to the program or to the city or to the municipality. Very, very important. And we have been molding youths from day one. From we got into office, we were the pioneers in putting together the Youth Shadow Council. We have a child advisory body functioning, driving youth programs through our youth innovation program, through our incubator program, through our summer youth blast program. We have been at the forefront, and we embrace youths, we embrace women, right? We want to see the city reach a point where we have a female mayor. Back, the last female mayor was Mayor Zinaida Moya. I'm looking, and I'm totally enthusiastic about down the road that our deputy mayor becomes a woman. right, and become a
real
youth.
likelihood.
We are looking at those. I want to see that.
There's the real likelihood, however, that if you lose the 2024 municipals, you'll be losing to a woman.
Yes, and
as the UDP is feeling a female mayoral candidate. But let's go back a bit. I just had to throw it in there.
I know.
But let's go back a bit. I'll piggyback on the idea of youth development to discuss a bit of internal politics here. You would have been challenged by a young person for the candidacy for mayor of Belize City going into 2024. And when I look at this broad picture, to me it presents sort of a catch-22. Because on one hand we're saying, okay, it's all about empowering young people to live out their dreams, to aspire for more, including political leadership. But on the other hand, we're saying, okay, wait a second, you still have more to grow, wait a second. But in one's mind, if one is thinking, well, perhaps the time is now for me, then I should be allowed to compete in a manner of speaking. How do you look at that? And what has been the effect of this scenario on the Belize City Council that you are the helm?
I don't think, when I look at it, I don't think it really impedes youth participation or youth involvement. The road of politics is a long runway, right? It's a very, very long runway, and you, as a youth, you have to be able to travel that road, enjoy the journey, right? It's a journey that will challenge you, but the challenges that you face on that journey builds you up and give you the experience. I'm certain that the young deputy Alan Pollard will learn so much more from this experience about politics, and will prepare him for a better performance down the road.
We often, no, go ahead.
Does that change the dynamic, the outcome of what transpired last week, where you were openly endorsed by your party, essentially says that the other two candidates who had already signed up to run in a convention, they would have to stand down. This includes Lawrence Ellis, this includes Alan Pollard, right? Lawrence Ellis, for all intents and purposes, is an outsider to Belize City Council as we speak. Alan Pollard is your deputy. What, if any, has that changed the dynamic between yourself and your deputy in terms of the work that you guys are doing as a municipal body?
It will not change any dynamics, in my view. We are both professional individuals. I've worked in organizations for 30 plus years, and we have had, and during that journey, I may have had misunderstandings with other people. But
differences of opinions.
At the end of the day, you have to look at the larger picture. And the larger picture is not about myself, or it's not about Alan Pollard, but it's about service to the people and putting our best foot forward in ensuring that we, as a unit, myself and him and the other 9 councillors, are able to continue to deliver. There are so many issues in the city that people want service. They want their streets fixed. We have over 700 plus streets in the city. We have businesses that want to continue to thrive. Young entrepreneurs want to continue to thrive. We have done excellent work for all the city. And so we have to look past our internal issues and look externally, so that at the end of the day we have one common denominator, and that is service to the people.
We're looking at your current council, your council members. There is also the case of Mr. Micah Gooden, who is away studying. You're looking now in 2024, and your council that is going to be leading, where does he lie in this particular situation? And are you now looking for new council members to take the mantle?
Well, actually, there will be convention for other council members. We have about 21 aspiring councillor candidates, and I believe that convention will be held on the 5th of November. We are hoping that we get young people who want to serve. It can't just be that we're young and we come there to serve ourselves. We have to come them in to serve the people. We have to be able to read the Constitution, the City Council Act. The City Council Act is right there that guides every way how you as a young councillor navigate. Right? The offices, go ahead, Ham.
You are in arguably the most unique position of them all at this point. In 2018, as the Deputy Party Leader, Curdell Hyde, said, there was a struggle to get people to run.
Yes.
Now the party is at the height of its popularity. Now we have to turn people down. I said, we have to put a process in place where we could actually vet the candidates and go to convention and what have you. So, but you will go forward uncontested at this point. But you're looking back and you're saying to yourself, man, it's been a journey from then till now, because they've gone from nobody no want to join the team to everybody.
Too much people want to join the team.
How are you looking at that?
I look at it that the council and the People's United Party has been a shining example for youths and for participation. We have worked pretty well, and now there are this agitation. We want to serve, we want to serve, we want to be a part of that good Belize City Council. I tell you, when I reached into City Hall, we were at the old building on North Front Street. And I walked into that office and looked at the decay in the office, the morale of the staff. We set very early that we had to change the culture and the morale of the staff. We had to look at how can we build capacity, and how can we build competency, and how can we retain some of the good people that we have here. And if I haven't mentioned this as yet, but in our last caucus, the council approved a 6% salary raise for all of our staff, which will really be effective in April of 2024. And really, the good thing about that raise that we did, it was done through a lot of consultation. We looked at the pay scales, and we wanted to bring our staff up to industry standards in respect to how are our salary matching with industry standards, and we were pretty low, and so that kind of had a brain drain that every time we get a good talent in, someone will pluck it from us and take it. And so now with this new salary scales that we have put in place, we are very competitive with the industry, and so we hope that we are able to retain our good staff. It gives, it broadens the career ladders. It groups people, it groups what you do as a function into different families. And so, but the good thing about it is that the entire raise, Isane, will impact out of the entire lump sum that we put in for the raise. 61% of that raise would be felt more at the bottom level, the janitors, the maintenance works, the cutting crews. They will feel 61% of that raise. It's not at the upper level, it's more at the lower level. And so we are very proud of that process that we did. And it's, again, that started way back in 2020 with the collective bargaining agreement with the CWU. We are hoping to conclude those negotiations with the CW. That was one of the sticking points. And so we are very optimistic.
Well, 2024 is coming. I can't vote, so you know, I can't vote here.
Vote for me?
I can't vote here. You know, I'm not a citizen. But as your mandate speaks, you are trying to finish what you've started. In terms of improvements and what you think you should be looking at more closely when 2024. I know you want your smart city, but other areas where you have been criticizing, and where do you think that your improvements lie?
It's always about infrastructure and quality of life for people. When people step out of their house, in the morning time. They want to be able to traverse a decent street. They want to, when they get up in the morning, they have a very efficient service where their garbage is collected. Our citizens have to, at some point in time, look within themselves as well, do some introspection on how do we contribute to cleaning, having a cleaner city. You can't have a smart city without being clean. We have done tremendous work in some of the urban areas that were once London bridges. People have streets now. We want to continue along that same vein. We are looking at unplanned urbanization, which is occurring all across the city, where we have migration and people going in and squatting on lands, and then they expect the municipality to put in streets, which we should. We have to care for everyone. We should do it, but then it really strain your resources, and so we have to look at all of these converging that are coming together. We have to look at climate change. We have to look at the new urban agenda. How do we include everyone? How do we build resilient, inclusive communities where crime is down and where everyone is put to work? We believe that the best social program is putting people to work, not the pantry program. The pantry program, of course, you will roll those out for the indigent, for the elderly, for those people who live at the margin, but it shouldn't be a situation where it does not impact the most needy. Pantry program should be for the most needy, but the best social program is putting people to work. We have done that with these community festivals that we have so much artists. We are contributing to the orange economy. Each and every time we have a Super Sale, each and every time we have a community festival, we are contributing to the local economic development. And so for 2024 and beyond, we want to continue infrastructure works. We want to have greater social inclusion. We want to look at how do we build a resilient society where women and youth are propelled forward.
All right. Well, Mayor Wagner, we are officially out of time this morning. I know you will be back.
Went fast, right?
I know you will be back because he done tell me electric buses. He's been having this discussion since 2021. I know that. You know that. And so we'll see what we look forward to in 2024 in terms of your smart city. But I'm sure you'll be back to have more of these discussions. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Today.
Thanks again.
And we got to take the break, but when we come back, it's all about International Day of the Girl Child. We have our panelists eager to come and talk to us about what that day means for them and why we should recognize it here in Belize as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
It's an massive season with massive deals and rewards at Penny's. From now through December 31st, earn double P-Bucks on store-wide purchasing every Friday and Saturday. That's right, 2 times the B-Bucks, which means 2 times the cash back when shopping at Penny's. Plus, get even more rewards with B-Bucks Builders on home goods, tiles, appliances, paints, and lights. And don't forget, there's also massive deals and discounts on tiles and the best brands in paints like Benjamin Moore and BH. Rewards, deals, B-Bucks. You can get it all this massive season only at Penny's. Quality and saving.
Homeowners, immerse yourselves in elegance. Surround yourself with the beauty of one-of-a-kind, quality wood furniture. This is what America's elegant furniture and appliances has to offer. Trendy, affordable, and exceptional centerpieces, large mirrors, vanities, plush sofa sets, coffee tables, office furniture, exquisite mahogany bedroom sets, home decor, mattresses, and so much more. Shop our new reduced prices store-wide and get huge discounts daily. Our layaway and payment plans offer the lowest interest rates guaranteed. Our extensive catalog meets everyone's furniture needs, and if you can't find what you're looking for, then we'll custom make it for you. Shop at Mirka's and save. Mirka's, making your household dreams affordable.
Number one caller. Number one caller. Hey, number one caller. You know why? Listen, hey, for the best post and prepaid. You know that Smart got you back. For the best service coverage. All we know that Smart got you back. Travel and connect everywhere. You know that Smart got you back. Smart make that go a long, long way. All we know that Smart got you back. Ah, do ya, Ben. Let's go. Every caller is the number one caller with Smart, bringing people together.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 police teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 believes on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Do you have information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video, or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. It is International Day of the Girl Child, and we have some wonderful guests this morning. Joining us in studio, we have some high school students as well as some junior college students, ranging from the ages of about 15 to 17, and that is in the scope of the girl child. Well, technically
perhaps a little older,
13 to 17, right? And so we have with us Tamaine Oatley, no stranger to Open Your Eyes. Hi, Tamaine. Sana Roland, also no stranger to Open Your Eyes. Gia Chala and Omari Medina. We also have Cameron Vaccaro, Ashley Belgrave, and Raven Hernandez. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And I know you're all here representing your various schools. So you have SJC-JC, we have Belize High School, and EP York High School. I want to start off with a very nuanced question. When we're talking about International Day of the Girl Child, how many of you knew that that was even a day to celebrate or to even recognize before today?
I knew about it from last year because my little sister's primary school recognized it as a day, and so that was the first time I heard about it though.
So in that case then, what did you think it meant?
I just think it meant recognizing girls under the age of 13. I mean under the age of 18, and you know how we grow and stuff like that, our experiences in our childhood.
Okay. So for you that went to do your little research, I know that we asked, and I'm sure Google is your friend. Being a woman, a young woman in your growing society, what does that mean for you? What are your experiences when you go out into the world in Belize and you have to represent a particular group of girls? What does that mean for you? Anybody can start.
Okay, so for me personally, like, it's an honor to be a woman, to be honest. Like, I'm just honored to literally be a woman simply because like we've faced so many challenges in the past and stuff like that. So it's like an honor to like break barriers and different challenges that we've faced for a long period of time. However, I think it's a challenge in a good way as well as a bad way, because it can be like a struggle, it can be like a battle every day. Like sometimes I'm fighting for my life at school because it's like when I bring across a point, I have a male challenging me, and I'm like, can't you just see where I'm coming from? Like, yeah.
I agree with Sana. It's definitely an honor being a woman. Femininity is something like awesome, and I fully try to embrace my own femininity. But as she said, it is a challenge sometimes, because sometimes our feminine energy can be taken for weakness. And I feel like that isn't fair, that isn't right, because you can still be considerate, you can still be emotionally intelligent, and still be capable.
Wow. Anybody else want to chime in?
I think I'm very proud to be a girl, to be a woman, and that's something I'm very I think I'm very blessed to be able to say, because there's a lot of girls around the world, even in Belize, that don't have the ability to say that. I love it because everything that I achieve, it just means so much more to me, because as a girl I feel like we face more challenges than a guy would in any aspect that we're trying to go at. So whenever I achieve these things, I'm just already proud of myself as I achieved in general, but I get even more proud because I beat these challenges.
When you're talking about these challenges then, and I love that you're all saying I'm proud, but it sounds like there is a weight of the world on your shoulder, and you're trying to break these barriers, overcome these challenges. So when you say, I'm proud to be a girl, but I have all of these challenges, doesn't it kind of sound a little bit ironic in a way? That you have to deal with this, but also be happy about it. So, yeah, go ahead.
Would I be able then, perhaps as the only male in this panel, ask what are some of those challenges?
Yeah.
Let's begin there and perhaps put that into some context, because you are looking at perhaps academic challenges, financial challenges, social challenges in your respective communities and what have you. Perhaps you could begin by discussing that.
Yeah.
I would say one of the challenges that personally that I've experienced is the expectation, wanting to be able to achieve what other people expect of me. But thankfully, with the support of my father and my mother, that they've taught me that what you truly need to accomplish is your goals and your expectations of yourself.
Okay.
It's something that it takes time to learn, and it takes time to basically just understand yourself as a girl, and understand that you do not have to live up to other people's expectations but your own.
Anybody else?
Similar to what Gia said, for me, as someone who is very interested in science, STEM, being in that field where a lot of it's mainly recognized to be a male-dominated field, I feel like it is something where I can grow, because with the support system that I have from my parents, it's a path where you take where it's very you don't focus on other people. You mainly focus on your own progress. So I think as a girl, it also means to be very comfortable in your own progress and what you can accomplish. So especially in a field like that, where it can be very challenging to live up to the expectations, it can be a great learning experience.
But not only the expectations, it's also like leadership roles when it comes to trying to make something in life or do something that comes from yourself. A lot of the times where we get doubted, people are telling us, okay, you can't do that, or leave it to someone else to do that. We're not allowed to, most of the time we're not allowed to think for ourselves and like actually be the leaders of something. And even when we are put in those roles, it's that people doubt us. They doubt our capabilities, or we don't get the recognition that we deserve. And a lot of the times it's not only from people like older people or the male role, but also like the females as well. Like we have a lot of teenage girls bringing down other teenage girls, or telling us how we're not, they're always picking on something from us. So like I can be a capable person, but then someone will find something about me, be like, oh, watch this one, she have this and this and that. They'll always try to bring you down and make you feel less than, and because of that, it's important for us to have a security within ourselves and to have that stem from our families. But many of the times we don't have family members who support us.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because the theme for this year's International Day is invest in girls. Our leadership and our well-being. We talked about women in leadership roles, or lack thereof, women in leadership roles. Do you all see any women empowered that you look up to and you're like, yes, this is something that I aspire to be, or yes, I can break these barriers to be in that position?
Me personally, I look up to my mother. She's very hardworking and always makes sure to reassure me that no matter what kind of troubles I'm having in school or stuff like that, that I will always try my best and make sure that I put my best foot forward, because even though, you know, sometimes school might be hard and stressful, you shouldn't let the troubles get in your way, and you should just do your best. And yeah.
What about the role of males in your lives, perhaps as father figures, perhaps as siblings as well? Where are you guys with that in terms of either them being able to empower you as